Je l'ai dit, ni les factieux ni les factions dans la République.
This is the French president removing his luxury watch during an interview where he's telling the workers of France that they're just gonna have to sacrifice a few more years before they retire. And he's doing this while France is quite literally burning to the ground.
More than 3 million people took to the streets in a nationwide general strike.
With numerous fires and incidents of looting reported.
In the southwestern city of Bordeaux, someone set fire to the front door of the city hall there.
City services have been shut down, garbage has been piling up on the streets for over 3 weeks, protests have erupted with millions joining in, and hundreds have been arrested in the biggest uprising the French have seen in a good amount of time. All because the president of France, Macron, is trying to increase the retirement age from 62 to 64.
Why has President Macron forced this through Parliament without so much as a vote? The answer, the spiraling cost of French pensions.
Age 62 to 64. This may sound like just a small insignificant issue across the Atlantic, but this is a forewarning of what's to come in America. Because America's retirement system is also a giant ticking time bomb, just like France's. This bomb just so happened to explode in France first, but if we don't make some changes fast, we're gonna soon be in the exact same position. And no one is covering this.
57 million Americans work for an employer that does not offer a retirement savings plan.
It comes as the U.S. slowly raises our retirement age to 67.
Social Security benefits could be cut by 2034 if Congress doesn't act quickly.
Stay dangerous and let's get into it. And quick side note, we're starting to make a lot more videos to cover stuff like this faster for you guys, which means we're gonna have a lot more sponsor spots available. And I was thinking about it and I thought if we're gonna be promoting more brands, we might as well promote your brands, being that a lot of entrepreneurs watch this channel. So if you run a company or you manage the marketing spend of a company and you wanna be featured in one of our sponsor spots, send us an email at business@jaketran.io. That's business@jaketran.io in the description below. Now back to the video.
Many see the fights over pension as the last stand in defense of France's social welfare model.
France has been having a rough time lately. Food prices have gone up by almost 14% over the last year, consumer goods like hygiene and cleaning products have gone up by just as much, energy prices have gone up by over 40%, and overall prices have inflated by 7.3% in the last year, the strongest surge for France in the history of the Euro area. So to the French people, raising France's minimum retirement age was simply the last straw, the last slap in the face amidst all this pain and suffering, because it goes against the very essence of French culture. As the classic saying goes, in America you live to work, but in Europe you work to live. And France is the epitome of this. Life is about living, not working. That's why France has a strong minimum wage. That's why France has universal healthcare. And it's why France has by far the lowest retirement age out of all the European neighbors. In Italy, you have to work until you're 67 before you can start claiming pensions. Spain, the UK, and Germany are all around 66 years old, but France? In France, you can retire at just 62 years old. And all of these generous social benefits aren't just nice to have for the French people. The French people view them as what they're entitled to. It is their natural rights, as natural of a right as the right to free speech is for Americans. So put yourself in the shoes of a French person. You've spent decades of your life working, putting in the hours. You've been having a rough time these last few years. You've been paying the second highest income tax in all of Europe at a nauseating 55.4%. All with the expectation of, hey, I'm paying all these high taxes so I have a cozy retirement at the early age of 62. And then boom, some politician comes into office and expects you to sacrifice another 2 years of your golden years by raising the retirement age from 62 to 64. If this was you, you are gonna be enraged. You're gonna go on strike, protest, break stuff, set stuff on fire. But here's the thing about social programs like public pensions, is that they're not free. There's not some magical money tree that sends you a monthly paycheck once you retire. No, all of those retirement paychecks old people get are funded by younger citizens like you and me. Money gets taken out from the workers and employers, it gets put in a giant bucket, and then it gets paid out to the old people. But here's the thing, not even France's super high taxes can support this very generous retirement system. The problem is that French people spend less time working and more time in retirement than most of their European peers, leading to funding shortfalls that increase the public debts, meaning that even with some of the highest taxes in Europe, there's not enough retirement money to go around. On top of that, France's retirement system originated all the way back in 1941. And in 1941, the average French person expected to live around to their mid-50s. Today, the French are living well into their early 80s. And yet they expect the same retirement system to be able to pay more people living 30 years longer than before. The bucket is simply not big enough to feed all the cattle. And an aging population is making the problem worse. One key measure is the old age dependency ratio, the number of older people compared to the population that is working age. In Europe and North America, that ratio would be about 50 per 100 people by 2050. According to UN forecasts, a rise from just 30 per 100 people in 2019. In short, we are on a trajectory towards a smaller share of people paying taxes and a higher proportion drawing pensions. Without change, France's national pension deficit could balloon to as much as 0.8% of annual economic output over the next decade, according to the country's Pensions Advisory Council. That's a liability the government can ill afford in a country that already has one of the highest public debt burdens in Europe. So something's gotta change with the French retirement system, or else it is gonna implode. And there are only 4 options. Number 1, you can raise taxes even more. Number 2, you can print more money, basically doing the same thing. Number 3, you can anger the old people by decreasing their monthly retirement checks. Or number 4, you can make the working class work longer before they're able to retire. Or in other words, you can increase their retirement age. The French president chose the 4th option, and the working class were not having any of it. The masses don't care that the pension system isn't sustainable, that's eventually gonna implode, that eventually something's gotta give. They just want to kick the can down the road so they can retire at 62. So they stopped working, went on strike, and took to the streets.
We're here today because it's out of the question to once again raise the retirement age. You have to understand that some people work in difficult conditions, and today these people are told that not only do they have to work longer, but also nothing prevents the government in the future to restart this type of bill. It's time for them to understand that people also want to enjoy their lives. We're not here to die on the job, we're here to be able to enjoy life one day too.
And America is in the exact same position. In America, our public retirement system is called Social Security, except there's nothing very secure about it. See, Social Security was created by FDR during the Great Depression, when there was no safety net for the old and the sick. The problem is, back then, old had a very different meaning. Much like France, back then the average life expectancy in America was only 62 years old, and the government only allowed you to get Social Security money once you reached age 65, a whole 3 years after the average person was expected to die. That's why Social Security was never meant to be your main source of retirement money, and nobody ever expected it to be. It was just to help out the very old. But as we started to live longer, this little support system for only the very old became something that I'm entitled to. Quote, 50 years ago, the average retirement was 12 years. Someone retiring today at age 65 is expected to live to 85 years old or longer. That's 20 plus years of retirement, and that's the average. Many will live longer and have 30 years of retirements. So once again, the same bucket is expected to feed more and more cattle that are living longer and longer. And yet, none of the cattle seem to care. They're all continuing to mindlessly wander around in hopes that everything is going to be okay.
Unsustainable retirement promises now total trillions of dollars. But nobody cares.
Nobody was paying attention.
There's a reason why in France, no president has tried to fix the retirement problem for the last quarter of a century.
This is going to be a big deal. A lot of people are going to be hurt.
We just don't have enough money, and the amount of money that we have to put into this is just mountainous.
But soon the cattle will erupt in chaos, just like they did in France. This is why, once again, you do not want to be dependent on the government. And all of this, the pension bomb, the banking crisis, the Trump drama, the loss of faith in our political system, it's all setting the perfect stage for our enemies to come together to take us down. And we're gonna cover the newest major move they just made in the next video, so subscribe by clicking the circle on the screen. And while you're waiting, learn how the US got to its position as top dog by financially enslaving the entire world by clicking the square on the screen. Everyone should understand this piece of history that they don't teach you anywhere else, so click the square on the screen to watch now.